Did you know that criminal harassment, aka stalking or being a general pain in the ass, is one of the most common crimes committed against real estate agents? And that often, when reported to the police, nothing is done about it. So today we are talking about that and how to get the police to help you. Welcome to the Safe Realty podcast with me, as always, the one and only Shannon Cutler. I don't mean me, the one and only. I mean, it's only me on here talking. I am on a mission to educate my listeners so that they don't become the next true crime news headline. As a former police officer with over 18 years of investigative experience and now a real estate agent, I guide realtors on how to handle their own security in vulnerable situations and to develop best safe business practices from the start. If you enjoy learning these tools, please share this episode. And this is not just for agents, because this is going to be for anybody who has reported something to the police and did not feel that they got the response they wanted. I'm not talking about like complaining about your parking tickets or your whatever, your speeding tickets, or that you were mad that your kid got arrested for actually shoplifting or doing something bad. I'm talking about getting absolutely no response when you feel unsafe. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple stories. Two female agents I know well. Their first one is going to be about Jordan. And I'm going to use the name Jordan because I'm changing the names of these gals so that we can protect their identity. And if they want to share their stories one day on this podcast, I'd be happy to have them on. These are not true crime stories. Well, they are true crime stories. We're just going to be giving a little overview, a points version of what happened to them. So Jordan was a new agent working in a smaller town outside of a larger city. Like the police station had, say a dozen people, a couple grocery stores, a post office, that kind of thing. Now, Jordan starts receiving messages on social media. She's new, so she's trying to get out there and get everybody to know who that. Now she's changed careers. Now she's a realtor. She's on there. She's getting this unknown male, who we believe is an unknown male, sending social media messages about her, like, oh, I saw you were at this event at the center the other day, or I saw you went here, I know so-and-so. And he starts sending her messages and commenting on her post as if he is a friend. So I don't know the security settings of Jordan's Facebook at the time, but very likely it was set to public and not just friends. So this person was able to access it. He knew intimate details from her social media account and began more and more contact messaging and commenting. Commenting on things like, I know where you will be on this day and time, because perhaps she had posted, I'm going to an event, or I am having an open house, or who else wants to join me at this winery for a tasting on Saturday. All the things that we typically put on social media. Many people share far too much. We just don't really need to know that you're just finished a shower or you are in the hospital for an x-ray. Like, let's just pare it down to what's really important and just keeping connected. So, okay, get off my soapbox. Back to Jordan. So this type of unnerving, constant, and unwanted contact persists. So now Jordan is feeling like somebody's watching me, whether it's just via social media. It's still watching, depending on how much you're on social media. It can still be, if you don't leave your house a lot, it can be very invasive because this person is very focused. And that's one of the issues. Focus on what she's doing. So she's getting more and more worried about this. And then there's a box that shows up at her office one day, at her real estate office. She opens this box, and inside this box were a number of things. There was a large stack of printed personal papers from Jordan's social media accounts. And this person had created somewhat of like a book documenting all the things of what Jordan had been up to. And then this person had written on there saying all this personal, private things about her. And like he knew her intimately. Let's say that. He was acting as if he knew her intimately. We don't know this person's identity at the time. She has talked to friends about this, and they're trying to figure out who it is. Now, within that box, underneath those personal printouts of all her social media stuff, and him making it very well known that he's paying extremely close attention to her personal and professional life, underneath it all is women's lingerie, underwear for her that this person would like her to wear. So as you can imagine, now this has escalated into unwanted contact, persistent unwanted contact, to now of a sexual nature. So yes, Jordan is alarmed. She's scared. She's freaked right out, and she goes to the police with the box and everything in it. The police officer, a male, says, "Thanks very much. We'll report for information," and gives her back the box. He does not take the box for evidence. He does not do anything with it. Reports it for information only, and said, "There's not really much I can do." One day we were having lunch and she told me this story, and I almost like whipped a glass at the wall. I couldn't believe the audacity of this police officer. And I thought, like, even if you worked in a very busy office like Vancouver or New York City, your job is to protect the public. Your job is to investigate the crimes that are reported to you to the best of your ability. And if it's outside of your ability to seek help from somebody who knows how to investigate this type of crime, and it is the police job to investigate so they can't investigate anymore, and to help the public feel safer, protect the public. No, this didn't happen. This person, I know the file load of this type of detachment is not high. And they have more time on their hands at coffee shops and visiting people during the day and checking that businesses are locked up at night. I know this officer had time. It's just utter bullshit. And this is not to throw police under the bus. I was a police officer for 18 years. So I am a huge supporter and fan of what they do. But there are lazy, terrible policemen out there, just like there are lazy realtors, just like there are lazy lawyers or plumbers or painters or whatever the case is. Let's hope the doctors aren't lazy, because we really need those guys to step up. But there are lazy, inept police out there, like in every profession. But when you're counting on somebody to help protect you, this is not acceptable behavior. So I was pissed off at this point. However, it was years prior. So this girl, Jordan, and her friend, a male friend, took the box and they went to the little post office. On the box, there is a stamp and it says what it was mailed from. So they went to the post office where it was mailed from. Not very much action happens at this little tiny post office. And they were able to gather the date, the time when this came in. I don't think there were cameras up at the time when this happened, but the police didn't even bother to go out to the post office to say, "Hey, do you remember this box coming through? Is there anything you could tell me about the person who sent it? Did they pay with cash? Did they pay with credit card? Did they pay with credit card? Oh, I can maybe do something with that. Is there a camera around? Did anybody talk to this person? If they did, maybe I could find out a little bit more." None of this was done. Jordan and her friend went and did this and found out a little bit of information. And then from the information that they found out at the post office with 15 minutes of freaking time, they then started to narrow down who this person was on the social media. They started to do their own online investigation to figure out who this person was. And I believe that the male and or a couple of friends sent this person a message that if this is you, stop or we're coming for you. The police at that point did not take a photocopy of these documents. They should at the very least taken a photocopy of it. They should have taken that underwear. Maybe the underwear was bought locally, just like that parcel was mailed locally. And in this small town, there probably aren't a lot of places where that underwear came from. we could potentially go back to the store as a police officer, an investigator. And even if you don't figure out who did it, you can take the couple hours out of your time to investigate it and to ensure that this was done appropriately, so that this female who now feels that she has an actual stalker that could potentially show up at one of her open houses, at her office. He knows where she's working. So has he been sitting out there before and followed her home? Maybe. Maybe he knows more about her than what he's letting on, which already seems like a ton. This is a scary story because nothing was done to try and to investigate it, and nothing was done to try and make Jordan feel any safer. So you can demand that the police investigate this. As defined in the criminal code, this is criminal harassment. And even if it wasn't a criminal harassment that could be a potential charge in a court of law, it's still something that the police can investigate, and they can try and find this person and ask this person to stop if there's nothing they can charge them with. Because then if it does continue, then there is something that they can charge them with. And if the police had done something, but they couldn't get a criminal charge and they did find out who this person was, there is still a potential for Jordan to go to a court registry office and apply for a peace bond, restraining order. A peace bond is criminal in criminal court. A restraining order is civil, and a restraining order is indefinite, depending on what the judge says, what the order is granted. So that is something that could have been done. Very basic police work. You can demand that the police take the box, that they fingerprint this box, that they take copies and or fingerprint, because yes, you can get fingerprints off paper. The papers that were provided, and take photocopies of it, seize it as evidence. It's evidence of a crime. And the crime itself is not mailing this box to the lady, to Jordan. It is in the totality of what has occurred that is making her feel unsafe via a criminal harassment crime, if you know what I'm saying. So this could have been handled differently, and there could have been a few steps taken to help her feel safer. And yes, you can, as a person in the public, not take no for an answer. You can say, I want you to investigate this. Please seize this as evidence. There could be fingerprints on this paper. There could be fingerprints on the box. We could find out where he bought this stuff from. Potentially, we could find who sold him the lingerie and get a credit card receipt. To get a credit card receipt and get credit card information, the police then apply for a production order, which is a search warrant for records. It's very easy to get, and it takes very little time to write up. I used to teach it. It's not a hard concept. If you can write, a book report, you can write a search warrant. And they could have gone to the post office and followed up on leads there. So that's Jordan. That's what happened to her. This person did stop, and because she believes that they figured out sort of who it was, or figured out a friend of a friend, and word got back to this person. So it did stop, but it was scary and alarming, and it could have amounted to something more. Okay. The next story is about Clarissa. Clarissa is a local agent on Vancouver Island, as well as Jordan. Now, again, as agents, a lot of our stuff, our social media, or our whereabouts via realtor websites or our signage are out there in the community. Well, this bad guy that started bothering Clarissa was driving by one of Clarissa's signs on a regular basis and had a nice picture of Clarissa on it. So this person became fixated on Clarissa. And it was usually around the December, January, Christmas leading up into New Year's time of year, which says something. Now, it would start with this male calling Clarissa about a listing. I know you have this large rural listing. I want you to please take me there. I want to go there now. I want to meet you only in the dark. This, just these weird things, weird demands that this person wanted to get to show this property. She found that there was a little, red flags, and tried to figure out a way to not show this person the property or have somebody else do it or take somebody with her. When as soon as she suggested that, then he didn't want to do it. He was mad that she wouldn't show him the property on her own. So I have a special offer, a little discount to offer my listeners at Invisaware. It's 10% off your purchase, which can add up when it's over $100. And you have to go to invisaware.kckb.st/Safe Realty. So your discount code is /Safe Realty, and they will offer you 10% off your purchase. And you can share that link. You can share that discount with everybody. I will also link that discount in the show notes. If you want to click right from the show notes into Invisaware, you'll get a flashy little congratulations. I sent you 10% off your purchase, and it will allow you to get this wearable safety technology that much easier. So it went into, I know where you're going to be. I know you're having an open house. I'm going to come there. I'm going to show up when the seller's there. I'm going to just these random things of like sort of demands and threats to come. No demand or no threat to hurt, but it's alarming when somebody's doing that and you don't know who this person is. And the messages started, text messages, and they would come by the 10s and the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. And they would come and come and come and come, these messages. And they got to be where they were like, show me this property. I want to go here. I want to go there. I know where you're going to be, to very sexual in nature. And we're talking dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of text messages and voicemails and calls and emails and everything. We have gone beyond criminal harassment. This is unwanted contact that causes a person to feel that they are under threat. This went on and on and on. And then one night, Clarissa answered the phone, and this person was on the phone masturbating and making noises, and she hung up. This happened annually, a couple years in a row. And it is gross. Yes. It was unsolicited. It was stranger. It is the totality of the circumstances that makes this a criminal harassment and makes her fear for her safety and potentially the safety of her children, if she's on her own, or for her and her sellers if she's out in a rural place and she's on her own in a bit of an isolated property. Report it to the police, Clarissa. The police said, thank you for reporting. And they didn't do anything. I said, follow up with the number. Take the number to them and follow up and demand that you get some response and that they look into this. You're not reporting it for information. You want action. They looked at the number, and the police looked at the number and found out that it was from a burner phone. Okay, that's a little harder, but it's not the end of the line. So, thanks for reporting, reported for information only, concluded in 8 minutes, let's get to coffee. Not acceptable. Not acceptable behavior. And if the person, she didn't take a statement. The realtor, the police officer, female police officer, didn't do anything except for report for information. And then when forced to, because Clarissa went back, forced to look into it, found out that this was a burner phone. All those things could have been done within 10 minutes of her getting the file in the first place and doing a little bit more. No instructions to Clarissa on how to handle this, no information, no statement, no nothing. We don't have the tech to figure this out, she said. And yes, there is a tech backlog. Sometimes it's years. Like I remember waiting a year for tech like say you see the computer and the tech has to go through it and produce a report. I remember waiting a year on like serious crimes for this kind of information. They do not have the resources to produce the type of evidence that they need. They just don't. So yes, I get that. However, as street police officers or basic investigators, there's lots that you can do without the actual technician or the tech investigator. The police need to make people feel safe and investigate crime. And many of them do. So if any of you are listening that are actually police, this is not a slant on police, but there are lazy ones out there, and we need to get the public to know that they can demand reasonable service and action out of the crimes committed against them. So my advice to Clarissa on this was to really document what has occurred. Take a step back from this, take a few breaths, because it's very alarming. She was extremely upset when she called me. It was very late at night. And I said, this is criminal harassment as defined by the code. Regardless of whether or not the person is known, the police can take steps to follow up. You feel threatened because the male is unknown and fixated on you and contacting you directly, repeatedly, dozens and dozens of times. And then lewd sexual comments, masturbating on the phone with you. Last time he spoke with her, he told her he wanted to get her alone. You're a realtor. You work alone a lot. He knows this. He's said that much. It's threatening by the nature and totality of what it is. You need to tell the police that, and that you want action next. I also advised her to look at her cell phone provider and have the no block callers feature activated. Because this guy was calling from a block number. Because I said, block it. She said, it's block number. Okay. See if you can get the no block numbers through, and they have to identify themselves by pressing one. You can allow that to happen via your provider or an add-on on your cell, but which you can just go online and do that yourself if that's the case. And that way it will show the number he's calling from. Then you can take next steps to figure out who he is by having that number. Even if it's a burner phone, there are steps potentially to identify, potentially. At the time, I don't believe she had taken the realtor safety course. Not that I teach. It's not the be all to end all, but it is. We do talk about criminal harassment, and I thought I had done an episode on criminal harassment. This might be part of it. I might do another one in the future. But with criminal harassment, once you have established you don't want any more contact from that person, you can tell them to not contact you anymore or stop contact. But you don't have to for it still to be criminal harassment. And you just stop engaging. Never engage again. Never, ever, ever. So as soon as you figure out what the gig is, what they're up to, just quit engaging. No more contact. You can say, do not contact me again in any way. I have notified the police or intend on notifying the police, if you want to say that. But then never, and I'm like capital red flashing neon sign, never engage with that person again. Just document what's going on and pass it to your investigator. Really important. As soon as you open that door to engage again, it'll start all over and it'll escalate. If the number comes up, you can tell the police that the number has come up. If there's a potential for the police to talk to this person, then we can send a warning and or start a charge approval process. I would then update your social or your security on your social profiles. If you don't know how to if you don't know how to do your social media security settings to only have certain types of access by the public, go on Google or YouTube and type in how to allow private access or friend access only on Facebook. It'll walk you through the steps to do the security updates, a couple buttons you click in your preferences. And then I would do a fine-tooth comb audit of who you actually have as friends. I know one day my husband sent me a message. He goes, "Who's Joe Schmo?" And I was like, "I'm not sure." And he goes, "Oh, well, he's commenting a couple times on your posts." And I was like, "On my personal page? That's weird because I'm not on there very often." He said, "Yeah." And I was like, oh, I don't know who that is. Why is he a friend? And I looked and it was like a friend of a hockey friend, but I didn't need that person as my friend looking at my private stuff. So I deleted him as a friend or unfriended or whatever the name is you call it on there, whatever, Facebook Meta, whatever the dumb name they have for it. Anyways, update your social media security preferences, and do an audit on your followers, on your friends, wherever you are. Instagram, TikTok. Well, TikTok's a little harder, maybe. Facebook, etc. Notify people. If it's a real estate agent that's being harassed, notify your managing broker, have them notify the real estate board, and have the real estate board put a notice to others, protecting your identity, but just the potential of like what is going on. Because maybe it is just you this time that he's harassing, but potentially he could move on to somebody else. So caring is sharing is caring. Share the information with others. Maybe somebody else has been through this and can help you as well. Now, in regard to dealing with the police, we've talked a little bit about that. If you're not getting the results that you want, I don't mean results like, they might never find your lost bike. Those types of things disappear into the abyss of the chop shop world, or on a bus off the island, or in Vancouver, or in a storage warehouse. You're never going to find that stuff. And if you do, wow, it's amazing, because that rarely happens. So I'm talking about like high risk behavior type of stuff. If you're not getting any service or getting results or getting the feeling that somebody's even just taking an interest in your file, in your case, in your complaint, to do any investigative at all, call and speak to the watch commander or the person in supervisor in charge of the investigator that was assigned to you. If it's a police officer in uniform and they're like a call responder, they may not have the time in a busier place, depending on where they work, because they are running from call to call and they want to help you, but they can't. So potentially, if that's the case, the file could be assigned to somebody that is a little more specialized or has a bit more time to take this on. Oftentimes there's even police officers that are injured working in the office, and they're the ones who could have the time to do this. There's a lot of this could be done right from inside a police office, and you never have to leave. So ask to speak to the supervisor or the watch commander, not necessarily to complain about the service, but to find out what steps can be done to help you, who can investigate this. And if you get just a general police officer or patrol officer, they're work 4 on, 4 off. So they could be gone for 4 days, and shit could hit the fan in your life with this bad guy in the 4 days. So say, look, this happened. Where's this officer? Oh, they're off for 4 days and they're on holidays. They're gone for 12 days. This cannot sit for 12 days. Please find somebody to continue with this investigation. And if the watch commander is not willing to help you, take it up to their supervisor. You can do that. And if it doesn't work there, you can take it up to the complaints commission. This stuff's all online. You can find it. And if it doesn't go there, you take it to the media and say, this is what's happening to me. The police are not helping me. I am all for accountability, and it is important to be accountable. And the police and the investigators and the public have to hold them accountable when they're not doing what they need to do to help keep them safe. You just can when you call and ask for the next level of service, give a brief overview of what has happened and that you feel threatened and harassed. And you need to ensure that you provide a statement. Sometimes people don't do well giving verbal statements, so the police do often a decent job of taking statements. I know the training in the RCMP is quite good for statement taking. But that being said, if you're not comfortable doing that, you can sit at home or wherever and write an email or write your statement out. And sometimes that's easier, or even just taking detailed notes of what's gone on. Bring that with you to your statement with the police, and then you have the notes. You can read it. You can refer to it. It will help you. It will help keep you a bit calmer and grounded so that you can provide the best statement so they can get the most accurate information to help and investigate this crime. Those are 2 local cases. I know there are piles more because I literally hear about them every time I teach a course, talk to a group, get interviewed by somebody. Everybody has a story, and there are many in which they don't get the action, and the police take this as report for information. If it happens again, let us know. Sometimes it does happen again, but it's too late because it's gone and it's escalated. So with this kind of stuff, it's okay to ask the police to follow up and to help you. And rather than scream and cry and get emotional, your best thing is to take a few minutes to write on your notes feature, on an email, on a piece of paper, whatever you do. Write down the sequence of events and provide any evidence that you can: screenshots, text messages, emails, voicemails. Save it, keep it, and demand that the police investigator that takes your file collect this as evidence. Demand that they take it as evidence, and then ensure that it's investigated appropriately. It's unfortunate that we have to force these investigations to occur sometimes, but with this Clarissa, eventually, with the script that I gave her to go into the police office, this investigator did help her. Eventually, she did. And I explained what a production order was to Clarissa, and I said that they can get a production order for the cell records of this person. It might be a burner phone, but the evidence provided on this cell production record could lead you to figuring out who this is just by who they're calling. You can say, oh, they're called Joe Smo. Oh, yeah, it's this pizza place. He calls her every night, every Wednesday at 7. Go there and say, okay, this number calls every night at 7. Who is this? Oh, well, that's Johnny. He lives across the street. He comes every Wednesday at 7 to get his pizza. Okay, now we know who this is. There are investigative steps, very basic. Not this CSI bullshit you see on TV, all this stuff. We're talking like very basic investigative steps a person could take, a police officer could take, to help you feel safer and to figure out the perpetrator of a crime. It's not always easy, but it can be done. So demand follow-up, demand action. It's very, very important. Now, I hope that this episode was somewhat helpful. I might sound intense and angry, and I'm not. I'm emphatic about it because I believe that there can be a better job done to make people feel safer. And some of these situations are very clearly a crime, and are very clearly a crime where things can escalate quickly and can turn into something more violent. And that is exactly what we don't want. So please I have a text feature now in the podcast. Please send a text to the podcast with comments or questions or a story you might want to share. I would feature it on a future episode, or have a chat with you and see if you'd like to be featured on an episode, or just sharing your story. It might help somebody else, your experience. And I think it's important to share this information with others around you so that they can be safer. They can have an understanding of what can potentially be done to help them. And that everybody has the opportunity to have the crimes committed against them investigated fully. It's really important. Please share this. Please be safe. And I hope to see you soon. It's summer. It is summer now. We are officially in summer. School is done today. I hope everybody has some wonderful and fun plans for the summer. Even if it's just sitting in your backyard quietly with a gin and tonic or a cup of tea. It's important. There's so much going on in the world right now that is just, things are just wild. I'm recording this on June 26th, so it's fairly recent to what's happening. So I hope everyone is doing well and taking care of themselves and enjoying some of the sun that is starting on Saturday. Yes. Take care, everyone. Be safe.